Hello, how are you? If you use or have thought about using Ozempic, Mounjaro, or any of these weight loss injection pens, you probably know about their powerful effect on weight control and weight loss. And many people get really worried as they approach the end of the treatment. They've already reached their goal, they've lost all the weight they wanted, and they start to worry. My God, what now? When I stop taking this medication, what will happen? Will my hunger come back with a vengeance? Will the weight come back quickly? Will my metabolism get stuck again? Today, in this video, I'm going to explain to you what science already knows, what you can expect to happen to your body, and most importantly, what helps many people maintain the amazing results that these medications bring them. So stick around until the end because you're going to love finding out. Before we start, I want to ask you if you've ever used Ozempic or Mounjaro or any of those weight loss pens, and whether you stopped using them a long time ago or not. How was it for you when it came to weight gain? Did it happen or not? I would love to see your comments. I'm super curious about this. Remember to like the video. It really helps me out here on the channel. And share this video with anyone who is currently dealing with this concern, and let's expand our chain of kindness. That's what I want here with the channel. If you can, please also leave a like on the video. It really helps me a lot. It shows YouTube that you like the channel, support it, and trust my content. And it also helps you because YouTube will understand that you like this content and will send you more videos that match your personal taste. When I mention Mounjaro and Ozempic, I'm talking about those weight loss pens, right? They act directly on satiety and glucose control and really help a lot in the weight loss process. These are medications that have very interesting results because they greatly suppress hunger and significantly increase satiety. So people are able to make better food choices effortlessly. Of course, the ideal is that even during treatment with these weight loss pens, with Mounjaro, with Ozempic, you have the guidance of a nutritionist, right? Because from the doctor, for sure, I know you'll have guidance since these are prescription medications. So to buy them, you need a prescription, you need a professional to guide you regarding the dosage, increasing or decreasing the dose, and everything else. The doctor is usually always there, but it's also extremely important to have a nutritionist helping you make good food choices, helping you, since you'll be eating less, to have better quality and make better choices. Because otherwise, what many people talk about can also happen, right? The person becomes very flabby, loses a lot of hair, and can even get sick more often. Because since the amount of calories consumed per day ends up being very low, the caloric deficit is very large in many cases. So the body can feel it more in some cases. So that's an important point. It's a process in which the person is able to lose weight more easily because they really don't feel hungry. It manages to make your feeling of hunger decrease to the point where you forget you needed to eat that day. And it's easier, you're able to make better choices in that sense. The problem is when you're getting to the end of the treatment and the person thinks, now what? I'm going to have to stop the medication. The doctor is saying we're reaching the end, they're lowering the dose, so what do I do now? Will I go back to my old eating habits when I stop taking this medication? Let's talk more about that. So what happens when you stop using the medication? When you stop using the medication, it no longer acts in your body, and that means the artificial stimulation from those satiety hormones will disappear. Your body goes back to relying only on its natural production of those hormones, which is what was physiologically normal, your baseline from before. And your sense of hunger tends to gradually increase. It's not like you stop taking it one day, and the next day your hunger is back to what it was before. This ends up being a slower process. It's not necessarily a rebound effect, it's simply your body returning to its baseline functioning. So what you really want to know is about hunger. Does it come back? Yes, it does. But not necessarily in the same way, the way you used to feel hunger before. This will always depend on how you manage your follow-up during the treatment. Hunger can return in different ways for different people. Of course, no one is exactly the same as everyone else. We're not robots and there are no one-size-fits-all solutions. But what will determine this are some specific factors. First, the dietary changes you made while using the medication. And that's why I told you it's really important, along with medical supervision, to also have nutritional guidance. That way, during this process, you can go through a process of nutritional re-education, dietary re-education. You'll better understand what works for you, what you like to eat, what works well in terms of health. Because since the medication will suppress your hunger, you start to understand yourself a little better. What you like, what makes you feel fuller. You have more clarity to make food choices. In fact, many people say that it even quiets those hunger voices in your head a bit, right? There's even a term for that. Food noise decreases with these foods. So it helps you make more conscious choices. In addition, you will also have taken into account this issue of hunger, how your diet is organized in terms of proteins and fibers, which is usually what nutritionists recommend you prioritize when consuming these foods: protein to preserve muscle mass and fiber for intestinal function, and also for cholesterol, for blood sugar control, and so on. So if during the treatment you received good nutritional education in this regard, and if you continue to maintain a good intake of proteins and fibers, you will continue to feel even more satiated afterwards. Another point was the preservation of muscle mass that you managed to achieve during the follow-up. That's why it's important for you to have a good intake of proteins. And if you can, also seek the guidance of a physical education professional so they can help you with strength training or even gaining muscle mass. Many people who don't exercise during this period end up with more sagging because the weight loss is very rapid. And when you have sagging, it's because you've lost fat and also a bit of muscle mass. So ideally, you should try to do a body recomposition, losing fat, but increasing or at least maintaining muscle tissue so your metabolism stays active. Also remember that in any weight loss process, whether with medication or not, sleep plays a fundamental role. So if you prioritize sleep, that will also help you maintain this weight loss. Because we know that people who have a poor night's sleep make worse food choices. The next day, they become more irritable, more tired to work out, so all of this is very connected. And we also have to take into account the history of restrictive diets the person followed before using Mounjaro or Ozempic. Because there are people who start using these medications after already trying many things and still can't lose weight. So their body was already in a very large caloric deficit. So how is this going to work? Usually what science says is that people who use it without the guidance of a nutrition professional, physical education specialist, or doctor. I'm sure that's not what you're doing, right? I hope so, because we're talking about a medication here. But people who use this medication without reorganizing their eating and physical activity habits tend to have more difficulty afterwards. What about the weight? A lot of people want to know, after making this investment, which is really quite high in terms of money, in terms of emotional investment too, the person is really focused on that weight loss process. So what happens to the weight afterwards? The body won't necessarily regain the weight, and certainly not quickly. What happens is that if overnight you go back to eating exactly what you used to eat before, if your protein intake drops a lot, if you've lost a lot of muscle, and if you basically return to those same old eating habits, eating a lot of fried foods, a lot of sugar, a lot of ultra-processed foods, not exercising, drinking a lot of alcohol, snacking a lot, eating poorly, then you'll end up with the same results you had before. It might take a little longer, but if you haven't changed your eating habits or your routine, the tendency is that you'll gain the weight back. Another important point to mention is people's emotional relationship with food. We know that for some people, this food-related noise is very strong. They wake up already thinking about what they're going to eat. Are you happy? You eat. Are you sad? You eat. Are you stressed? You eat. So if the person can't change their relationship with food, it may be that later, when you stop taking this medication, which reduces your appetite, all of this comes back. So, if this is your case, also look for a psychologist or a psychiatrist who specializes in eating issues to help you, to make sure that later on you'll have a healthier relationship with food and that food will take its rightful place of nourishing you, which is where it truly belongs. Before I finish, I want to remind you that I have a playlist here on the channel with lots of tips to help you lose weight in a healthy way. Lots of recipes if you're looking for ideas, right? If you've stopped taking the medication or are even in the process of using it and want healthy, tasty ideas to change your relationship with food, right? We want to eat healthy food, but we want it to be tasty too. Enjoy the pleasure of eating. I'll leave it down here for you several recipes for lunch, dinner, breakfast, and snacks that will help you. There are low-carb recipes, low-calorie ones, so it always depends on your eating style. I want to know if you've already stopped taking these medications. If you've regained weight, if you're managing to maintain it, I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video, that's super important to me. Share it with someone who will enjoy it, with someone who needs it. Let's work together to spread this chain of kindness. That's what I want here with the channel. See you next time. Bye.